Hey, welcome back to Season 3 of the Brownie Points podcast. I'm your host, Noam, and I'm here with my co-host,
Levi.
Great job as always. Today, we are going to be focusing on preseason week 1, mostly on Shedeur. We'll touch a little bit on the other standouts that we noticed, and then we're going to get into a little bit of that drama between Shedeur and Tony Grossi and what our thoughts are on that. We do not like to waste time. We're going to jump right into it, okay? So, Shadeur Sanders and his play. Shedeur has always been electric. I want to say polarizing. Whether he's good, whether he's bad, he's obviously got a lot of supporters. He's got a lot of detractors. That's going to continue here. And I think you saw a lot of the Shedeur hype train. Literally just a preseason game, and you were seeing it in full force. And we were kind of on the same page, I think, when he got drafted, that neither of us were high on him. I wasn't low on him necessarily either. I just was like, I don't know. I don't really see a lot, but who knows? I think you were lower on him, though.
I'm definitely lower on him.
Yeah. After seeing that first preseason game, a lot of people seem to feel like he did great. Like, all of the videos that I saw, like TikToks, YouTube videos, Twitter, everywhere around, all of that, amalgamation of the fans and analysts seemed to feel that he did somewhere between decent to electric to really, really good. I didn't feel that way. You didn't feel that way. I have a little bit more nuance. You seem to feel like it was mostly bad, but not to say there was no good. But you were overall felt it was bad.
Like 60% bad.
Yeah,
I don't want to clarify. It's not like I was sitting there going, those TD passes were terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty more on that. But he's a really interesting player to discuss. And this game, I think, was not super definitive one way or the other, which is not how a lot of people felt. We're going to start off with you, and I'll come in with my take on it. But overall, what was your feeling of Shedeur's performance, and what led you to feel that way?
So, I think the important thing to keep in mind is, right, it's not necessarily also what you do well, it's what you do well that I need to see you doing well in. Right, and there's something that, for example, like in practice, we have no idea. This is something that, it drives me nuts because people are just going crazy about practice and the practice tracker and whatever else garbage is coming out there.
I hate that. It's so dumb.
It's so dumb. Also, if a coach comes in there and says, hey, we're going to simulate pressure, because we don't really have pressure, it's 7-on-7. So the ball has to be out in 4 seconds. That's the play, because a lot of times you have to get the ball out in 4 seconds. And then he takes 6 seconds but completes it. You have it as a completion, but in the coach's book, it's a negative. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying it's very difficult with practice to know who's doing well and who's not.
Or they'll be like, oh, he threw a lot of touchdowns. Like, okay, but was it a touchdown drill? Or was it like a 40-yard bomb? You know what I mean?
And a lot of his touchdowns, I think, were coming in red zone drills when you read into it.
Yeah, in practice,
you see him in the red zone in the game.
Yeah.
And you see, he's good in the red zone drill, but that's not the same thing as being able to drive a team down the field. That is a very different skill set. And that's also the thing with Dylan. Like, if he's doing well in the mental aspect, you might see a really bad practice because they've asked him to work on a weakness because they think he's moving forward. Again, that's conjecture. I don't know. The point is that we don't know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people acting like they do know, and that drives me nuts. That's a side note. Mm-hmm. But a lot of my concerns about him, I thought were validated, except for one area, which I'll get into. But most of my concerns were still there. So yes, there were upside, but there always was some upside, obviously. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been a very good college quarterback at all. There's something to him, but the concerns I had were validated. So we're going to get into that. So where he looked good was red zone. I was very happy about that. Like, his red zone work was really good. So I'm going to give him a lot of credit on that. His vision on it was good, and he was unafraid of the tight window, which it looked very good. Hopefully that holds up against the ones. We'll have to see. But look good. I think the only question would be the first one. The second one, where it was low, I think holds up against everyone. The first one in the tighter window was an amazing throw, but I would have to see how that one holds up against.
Yeah, the second one was really nice. That might have been the best throw of the game, I think. When you in the totality of the play, I think.
Yes.
But,
where I thought he did really good, and I was very concerned about coming out of college, was pocket management. It wasn't great. It wasn't like it didn't need more work, but he came in with the worst pocket management of any quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was awful. And I say any quarterback, yes, I'm sure there's some quarterback you can find from FCS world that had worse.
But a lot of the people say, like, the O-line was really bad, though.
Yeah, absolutely, but he had terrible pocket management. He had way worse. Like, it was really bad. He caused a lot of the sacks. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all of them, but he kept drifting backwards like it was a Madden game. And which just allows a looping defensive end to get right in there. Mm-hmm. And he would bail too early. He was causing a lot of problems. Coming in here was a big jump. Were there mistakes? Yes, but that's okay. The point is that you were making big progressions in that area. So that was really important to see and really good. And is why a play I actually felt most positive about from Shedeur in that game was not his TDs, but it was actually that 20-yard completion at the tight end, where the throw itself was not amazing, but he stepped up in the pocket. And that was something I never saw on the college tape. And I can't say I watched every snap, but I've seen a lot of his highlights, a lot of his tape. He just never really steps up. He stepped up. That's a really big moment because that's something you have to do.
Yeah.
So that was huge. Where I thought was negative, he was very late on a lot of plays. A lot of his balls were late. That's a big problem. He does not have a strong arm. You can see that on tape. It was something we saw in college, and it's showing up again. He does not have a strong arm. He doesn't put zip on balls, and it's only going to go so far. Now, the deep ball part wasn't really applicable in this game, so we'll see more as time goes on.
Yeah.
But based on the short game, it just didn't look good. And if you aren't a quarterback with a strong arm, if you're not Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, etc., etc., Richardson, he has no accuracy, but he has a strong arm, you can't afford to ever be late. Like, those guys can zip it. So they might be a second late, but because they can put that extra velocity, they can get away with it. You're not that guy. You have to be on time. Generally, people have to be on time. You have to be extra on time. And with Shedeur, because of his arm, he can't just be a good processor. He needs to be a great processor if he wants to be successful in this league. And so that's what I'm really concerned.
He's going to have to be better pre-snap.
Well, I see that he needs a lot of room to get to decent, let alone good.
Yeah.
He was late, and a lot of on these timing routes. And if we do get into a TV segment, you can really see it. If you break down the tape, these curl routes, and he's just missing them. And it's like, no, that ball needs to be out way earlier if you're throwing that curl route. And so you're sitting there, and it's like, oh, the pressure's getting to him, but the ball was designed to be out earlier. You have to get the timing route out on time. That's how these things work. A lot of the reason why suddenly it's like, oh, different quarterback comes in, and you'll notice these O-lines suddenly are better. They're not better. The quarterback can make quicker reads and play a different style of offense, which allows the ball to get out quicker, thus putting less pressure on the offensive line. So that was concerning. There were 2 times where he just straight up missed guys. Where they were like,
he hit a couple like really bad throws, which you could chalk up to rust, but
when nobody's
you're practicing a lot. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not good at the end of the day, right?
Right, and
like, it could improve, but not good.
But you don't want to see just complete misses on guys when nobody's 5 yards from him.
Yeah,
Loop it a little bit. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
that was rough. He was late on several, and his pre-snap reads on the rush recognition was not good. So there was just a lot of concern. I liked it. He at least made some progress in regards to pocket management. That is a positive that is worth mentioning, because it also just shows an overall ability to progress at all, which is worth mentioning.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I liked, was that I felt like he wasn't as bad in the pocket as I was expecting him to be. Like, he had a couple points where he would like shift slightly, reset his feet. He had a couple points where he did step up, and then he also had a couple throws where he stood in the pocket with oncoming pressure, made the throw, and took the hit instead of just bailing on the play, which I really, really liked.
Yeah, but there was nonsense. By the way, that play that he threw and we thought was intentional grounding, it was intentional grounding.
It was? Yeah.
It didn't make it.
I remember where we saw it.
It did not make it to the line.
I remember when we were watching it, I was like, oh,
that did not make it to
whatever.
The line of scrimmage.
Doesn't matter.
It did not make it to the line of scrimmage. That was definitely intentional grounding. And again, like, if we're getting to the tape segment, you can see. But like, part of the problem with that one on that play, if you watch, is there were curl routes. He wasn't getting the ball out early, like he was supposed to do. So because you now created a more difficult situation. And that's the kind of thing he especially can't afford. You are not the athletic freak. You are not the strong arm talent guy, like that guy with the cannon.
Yeah, I think that, by the way, that is where a lot of people will disagree. I think also, though, is because you don't feel that his athleticism is going to translate to the NFL. I think a lot of people watched that preseason game and said, "Oh, his athleticism is translating."
But I definitely disagree. Don't get me wrong. Some of it will. His agility is very good. He has moves. He has moments, but his overall speed's not that great. Like, it's not that great. I think he absolutely gets called by starters.
For me, like, I don't know that it needs to be. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick was a really sneaky scrambler, or like Baker Mayfield can be a sneaky scrambler. They're not particularly fast, but when the defense gives you that space and you use your brain a little bit, you don't need to be that quick. You just need to you just can't be Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? So I do feel that his athleticism is enough. He's obviously not going to be Lamar Jackson, but I don't think I saw enough where I felt like it wasn't going to work, like he wasn't going to be able to scramble in the NFL.
But that only works if everything else is working. Like, yes, you're right in that he doesn't need more athleticism to be a success in the NFL, technically, in a vacuum. But he then needs to possess really good pocket management, really good processing,
yes.
make everything else work. And then 100%, and he can be an effective occasional scrambler. 100%, he's plenty for that. It's just that his style, especially at least in college, was a lot of scrambling around behind the line, jumping backwards and doing all these things that, unless you've got special level athleticism, will catch you and put you in a bad spot. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify what I mean.
That's part of the problem.
Not translating.
That's part of the concern with bailers. You know what I mean? People who the ball comes
Caleb
in,
Williams
then they bail really quickly. You end up like losing 10 yards instead of losing like 1 even. Like even just taking the sack sometimes is a lot better than what sometimes young quarterbacks are used to running around in college do in the NFL. I mean, like, I feel like I do this every season, right? Eventually I come back to DeShone Kizer, but like it was so traumatizing for me. But watching him like scramble and running around and trying to evade people, and you just lose 10 yards, and it was just a nightmare. So
yeah, and you know, part of this recognition, ran that fourth down play. He doesn't recognize what's going on. He runs backwards. He doesn't get the ball on time to the curls. He's late, and then he's running backwards the whole time. And it's like, look, the thing about running backwards is you can't do that. You gotta be looping around. You're not fast enough to run backwards and then come back and do all that. You're not going to be able to pull that off.
I mean, he did do that in that game, but I understand you didn't see.
But when he went really far backwards, I caught him.
You didn't think it would, yeah, and you don't see that translating to regular games
it's
either.
Fourth down.
Yeah.
You got to chuck the ball towards the receiver. Mm-hmm. That's what you have to recognize, get it done, and it's like, it's not perfect, but I'm going to throw it towards him and give him a 50-50 chance. And if it gets picked, it gets picked. It's fourth down. You went for it on fourth.
Yeah.
So if you get the ball and it went, and then the guy, you throw it 15 yards, and he comes back 10 yards and then gets caught, it might count as interception, but guess what? It's 6 yards further than where they would have been.
Right.
So you got to take your shot. That's what fourth down means. And that's what I want to see. I want to see the coachability. I want to see not coachability, but the coaching part. Like that mental mindset. I want to see a coach hit a checkbox and not get a score. It's about the coach saying, he learned this. He could recognize this.
Yeah, that's why you can't get caught up with like stats or results to like from the preseason. Like that stuff doesn't really matter as much as those little things. You know what I mean?
Especially because you're going to see more complicated coverages in the NFL season. Those were very vanilla coverages. By the way, side note. Oh my God, with all the people saying he was set up. First of all, why would he practice with the ones before the game? He wasn't going to play with the ones. What does it help to practice with guys you're not going to play with before the game? That doesn't make sense.
That's nonsense.
Like, Jerry Jeudy didn't play. Why would it help to practice with Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
Like, he's about to play, and he's not even practicing with the ones. Of course he's not.
Yeah.
Help
and there's some vague truth to it, only in the way that you have to set somebody up for success by putting them in all the best positions. And by default, that means that someone else is not getting the best opportunities. That doesn't mean they want him to fail. It's just like there's only so many first teamers. In fact, there's only one set of first teamers. Like, and someone has to get him. And if they decided it's not for him, that they want to give that to somebody else, there isn't other. You can't multiply them. You have to work with the second, third teamers and whatever. And I will say something that really annoyed me about that Shedeur game. Which I think personified the annoying segment of the Shedeur fan base. I'm not saying they're all like that, but the annoying segment of them, which is that they want to, like, I don't say have their cake and eat it too isn't the right thing, but when things didn't go well, they're like, oh, the coverage is so, the protection is so bad, Walmart protection, whatever, horrible. Okay, but his positive plays are also coming against, Walmart employees, plumbers, whatever, right? Your third, fourth stringers. You can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? Yes, his protection wasn't that great all the time, but he's also throwing against third, fourth string corners and simple schemes. Like, it goes both ways. You have to give and take if you're going to do that, if you're going to play that game and not just look at what you see. That's also partly why we don't go so much on the results and try to just look more at processing. Do I see your head moving across the field? Are you going through your reads, or are you just locking in on guys? Are your throws going to translate to an NFL game? Not just did you complete them, but will that translate?
Yeah, and the thing you got to keep in mind too is we see good players play and look great. We've seen, in the preseason, guys just light it up. They're playing with third stringers, but when you play against third stringers and you're really good, you tend to light it up.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's fair. Like, I've seen running backs do amazing in these zones. They're playing with the same, protections. They're playing with third round protections, but you're playing against third string defensive linemen too. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And we've seen that good players will shine in those situations. So it's time to shine. Like, and look, he had his moments. I think he did better than I was a little afraid of.
I think he did better than I was expecting. Yes.
He did a little bit better. Like, I wasn't wildly surprised. It is the preseason, but I thought his pocket management was better than I thought, and his red zone was very good. As opposed to just being like kind of good, it was very good. So I do want to give credit where it's due. And he may continue to progress. Like, that is something that a lot of people do. Like, oh, you're wrong, you're right. he thought he wasn't good enough, but he is good enough. And it's like sometimes they just get better. Like they had weaknesses, and then they progressed.
They improved it, yeah.
Not being as bad at that thing, and that's why they're better. And like you can't always predict whether someone's going to be better because you don't know whether they're going to learn.
Yeah, or like they the right coach. Yeah,
they might have had a college coach that wasn't great at teaching them processing, didn't bother. We're just like, hey, let's find a way to get instant offense. I'll make it super simple.
Just simplify the scheme instead of trying to make them better at going through reads. Yeah.
But it might be that they come to NFL, get a genius level offensive coordinator who teaches them how to process, and suddenly they're much better at it. So you don't always know. Lamar, like a lot of people don't like to look back, but if you look back, he's a way leagues better passer than he was when he came to the league.
Yeah.
The style he played in the league when he came in would not have lasted 3 seasons. It lasted because he got better at passing.
Yeah.
Which good for him. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What he did is an outlier. But, you know, it is what it is. He got better. So Shedeur has problem with processing, but he might turn out that he's a really great passer if he gets a chance. If he learns from Stefanski and gets better and better and better at it, he might be able to make up enough ground to be good. But he's got a long way to go because of his weak arm, because he has to be really good at it, not kind of good. Which is why I think you're seeing Dylan getting more of a chance, because he's a much better arm and he comes in more pro ready. I think he ran a more complicated offense in college, and so he's more ready right now on multiple levels. So he's going to be put a little more to the front. And Shedeur, a lot of things he's working on are things that can be worked on with third stringers in terms of like how's your pocket management, which we saw advances on, like how quickly are you going through things. And so they're going to make sure those boxes are checked before worrying about moving him forward on the list. So I don't think it's sabotage. I think it's about looking out for his best interests and not looking at box scores. These are coaches looking at other things. So I think there's reasons for optimism. But overall, my take was a lot of it was quite poor.
Yeah, that's where I think is where we disagree. I think when we talk about a lot of individual plays, we have a lot of agreement. It's not like we're looking at the same play and you're seeing one thing and I'm necessarily seeing something totally different. But I think that we're evaluating the sum of it all slightly differently. Like I said, for myself, I already said this earlier, but I did feel like, especially like rewatching every throw and just seeing a couple plays, just seeing him moving his head is really nice. I know it's something really subtle and it's really small, but it's really, really important. You don't always see it. But seeing him just go from here and then turn and then make a play, I really like that. Seeing, like I said, his pocket management was significantly better than I was expecting. There were a couple plays where there was pressure and he made a very slight adjustment in the pocket, like a step up or like a slip to the side slightly, and then made the throw. Whether they completed it or not, I'm not going to go through, but that's the kind of things that we're looking for, right? And then a couple plays where he stood in the pocket and he took the hit and made the throw. Something that I'm not saying it's Tom Brady, but I just always think of Tom Brady. I'm being really, really, really good at, probably like the master of that, just taking a hit and making the throw anyway. But it's something that you need in order to be really great.
But I would say Tom Brady's ultimate master of his pocket management, the way he would sidestep and move to reset the blocking, like how he just reset the pocket.
Yeah,
that's what I would say he was the biggest master at. Like he was unbelievable at that, which he kind of had to be, but he was.
Yeah, exactly. But so for Shedeur, I really liked seeing those things from him, and I was impressed. I wasn't expecting to see that, and I did.
Well, let me ask you.
But here's go ahead.
Because now the Shedeur fans are saying that he's gonna get 1 reps with ones.
No.
What are your thoughts?
I don't think so. I think it's going to continue with what we're saying. I think until Dylan gets his play, I think it's probably going to be the same.
I think Dylan will still be above him in the depth chart. I think Dylan will get the start, or maybe they'll kind of pick it out for like a drive or two, and then it'll be Dylan against the Eagles coming up. That's still my guess.
I don't think he necessarily did so much, but that's kind of my point, is that I think that he had some plays that were really nice. He also had some plays that were really bad. He had some really, really bad throws when there wasn't much to, inhibit him from making a nice throw. Some of that could just be jitters. Some of that could just be, first game, could be rust. There's a lot of reasons why that could improve. That being said, we have to evaluate what's in front of us. And he had I feel just as many not great plays as really nice plays. And so to me, that balances out for him to be somewhere in the middle. Like out of 10, performance to me was like somewhere like a 5.5. I didn't see anything that made me think, wow, he's legit. I didn't see something that made me say, wow, he is terrible. I just felt like, okay, there's some good, some not so good. We'll have to see more going forward. There were some things that impressed me a little bit, and some things that did not impress me so much.
And keep in mind, general PSA for the fans. Cleveland media isn't exactly like the balanced approach. They also have a lot of terrible takes
Yeah.
I haven't spent a lot of time with a lot of media, so I can't always speak to everyone, but I always thought Cleveland media was pretty terrible. Which I know it's
Interesting. Wow.
put me in a thing, but
Wow.
I think they're really bad.
Way to hurt our chances at collaborations.
Yeah, we're not getting any collaborations anyway, let's be honest.
Yeah, but yeah.
All right, yeah, but I mean, if this bothers you, you can clip it. I
No.
understand that. That's fine, but I think it's terrible. Like, I've listened, and just, like, overall, for years, I've just thought, really bottom of the barrel. Just, there were years where there were some people in the media who I thought were decent. I love Pete Smith of SI. If you want a good approach, someone who really actually underratedly knows what he's talking about and is willing to say the unpopular things when other people won't, Pete Smith of SI, who covers Cleveland specifically, very good actually, very good follow on X, highly recommend. He was one of the only people calling out Jarvis Landry in 2021. Now when I say calling out, but mentioning, hey, post injury, he's not the same guy, and everybody was like, he's Jarvis Landry, and he was like, no, watch the tape, he's slower. And guess what? Jarvis Landry put up 233 yards the next year, and then he was out of the league. He's one of those guys. He knows what he's talking about. He follows through. He will give you a perspective that you're not getting from a lot of the rest of the media, which kind of just come around the same narrative. But they love DTR. But it was the preseason. And he looked great in the preseason, and he wasn't ready. Like, this is not the first time we've seen this story play out. Josh Dobbs, how did that play out?
Yeah.
And we just...
That's the other thing, right? Even guys who have good games...
Right now, like, Joe Flacco's the savior. Like, oh, it's Joe Flacco. He's so far ahead. Watch him last year. Because there were several games last year against the Colts where he looked bad. There's a reason why they went back to AR. They went back to AR, a guy who's getting a 50% completion rate. They went back to him. He was bad. And then at the end of the year, he had a couple decent moments. And by the way, the Colts have one of the best receiving cores in the league. It's super underrated because they don't have a great quarterback room for years now. But A.D. Mitchell's legit.
Michael Pittman's
a monster. They also have what's his name, Josh Downs, who's a really good slot receiver. Like, they have talent, and now they've added Warren too to that tight end room. I mean,
yeah,
they've got tons of talent. But they just and Alec Pierce, who's super talented. They have a ton of fast, strong, big guys, tons of talent. And still at times he looked really weak, and he's got a good running game there too. Now, in moments he looked good, and he might be the best right now on the team at the moment. But, like, let's slow down. He's not necessarily going to have that magical run he had before, which even then had too many turnovers to last. So, let's just calm down a little bit. You know, people, like, don't get too caught up in the narrative that's being put out there. Time will tell, but NFL regular season has a way of bringing you down to earth.
And the truth is that even if you play well for a few games, also doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be long-term successful, right? It's because you have to see what happens after they adjust, to the game planning, exactly.
What I'm seeing
but, like, even if he threw 400 yards, that wouldn't necessarily mean that he's going to be good. Like, it's the preseason. It's the preseason. You can't.
Yard bombs,
nothing.
A different approach.
Yes, but nothing is. Yeah, because then it would be like, oh, I didn't see that so much in college. But nothing that we see right now is definite.
Right.
It just isn't, because it's like, even when you see a really nice throw, like, oh wow, there's like a really nice 25-yard, dime goes like up, like the moonshots, right, drops right in the receiver's hands, so the DB can't get it. Even those plays might not translate to the NFL when the pressure gets to you 0.7 seconds faster or 0.4 seconds faster, and you don't make that read as quickly. You don't make that read 0.4 seconds faster, and now you don't even have a chance to make that play. Like, having the physical ability isn't the same as having the processing to allow you to even execute on that, which is a lot of the reasons why college doesn't translate to the NFL, is their processing usually isn't enough to keep up with their arm talent. Like, a lot of guys, you line them up, can make a lot of similar throws or have the physical arm strength and talent to make a lot of throws, but can you make them quickly, make the read, and do all that at the same time? So even if you threw 400 yards, it still wouldn't be definite. Nothing is definite. Like, look, just relax. I thought he was solid, but relax.
And keep in mind, what I'm worried about is your Case Keenums, right? He had some moments, but he had a weak arm, right? And so what ended up happening is teams then game planned, and all of a sudden it becomes like you're in the back half in your opponent's field approaching the red zone every time, where it's condensed because they know that they don't have to. And if you're not really good at that processing and moving off, they'll start jumping routes. And you can't be late and behind. They will start picking you off real quick.
Yeah.
So those are the things I'm worried about. So that's where the regular season comes in to haunt you. You have 2 good games and you feel great. All of a sudden, someone puts on the tape, starts putting together a game plan for you, and suddenly you just disappear. There's a reason why some guys are good backups for a couple of games and they'll have good moments, but they never last as starters.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they have 3 great games. Why aren't they playing more? There's a reason for that. And the coaches know that, and most of the time, believe it or not, they're actually smarter than the fans. Even though sometimes it looks stupid, a lot of times they're smarter than the fans. But it's enough about Shedeur. Oh, we could probably talk about him probably the entire time because.
But we got next week, right?
Yeah, but we have next week. Yeah, and we'll get into this drama later. We're gonna get to that later. We want to do play first, drama later. So, was there anyone else that stood out to you from that game? The Browns did have a number of other picks outside of Shedeur. Shedeur being the 5th round pick was maybe the most notable, but not actually to the coaches and to the GM in the Browns front office. The most significant draft picks was actually Mason Graham, Dylan Gabriel, and Carson Schwessinger. Now, obviously, we didn't get to see Dylan Gabriel, but what were your thoughts on Mason Graham, Schwessinger, and was there anyone else who stuck out to you?
Well, the guy who really stuck out to me was Schwessinger. I mean, I'm not the only one who noticed. A lot of people did. The guy had 6 tackles and 13 snaps. That's, like, remarkable.
Yeah.
I didn't really notice Graham so much, which
Same.
is fine. He didn't play a lot of snaps.
Yeah.
The reality is, okay, let's all slow down here. And I'm not attacking Mason Graham. I think a lot of what he's going to do is run stopping. Apparently,
I think they just want him to absorb a little bit more so Miles can be a little bit more free. Just bring a little bit more to the middle.
Yeah, and I think he'll be a good run stopper, which is great. And he may develop more of his pass rushing moves. First of all, defensive tackles often take a little longer to develop. So I'll take a breath. It's not unusual. I know there's some guys who come out and are phenomenal.
Yeah, but not everyone's Aaron Donald.
Not everyone is, right? And it's part of the reason why I was like 5 on him. I like him, but is he 5? Because usually those are reserved for those remarkable DTs. And I don't think he's that kind of remarkable pass rushing DT. Mm-hmm. But you have who you have.
Yeah, and he could have just been a guy that they felt was like a 10th, but like we're not picking 10th, we're picking 5th, so we're taking him.
Well, and they probably took the guy who they thought had the highest floor.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yes.
He's fine, he's good. A lot of times defensive tackles take more than 13 snaps to show up. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, I do think drafting for floor is good because the Browns do have a bit of a history of drafting for ceiling.
Yeah.
And I don't think drafting for floor is necessarily a bad idea. Sorry, but I did cut you off.
Jason Light does that a lot.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
I want a good example of drafting for floor.
For floor, yeah.
Graham Barton is the guy he took last year for floor. He's looking really good. And Emeka Buka this year, we'll see how he does. But through camp, he's looking phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he's drafting for Florida.
So for Mason Graham, like you're saying, he's going to take a little bit of time to develop.
But he didn't do anything too stupid, so whatever. Let's relax. It's 13 snaps. Most people don't do that much. That's what's amazing about what Schwessinger did. You know, I mean, I didn't do Graham's exact snap count, but I don't believe he's in there for that long.
Yeah.
Schwessinger put 13 snaps, he put 6 tackles. And he looked good. He made some nice moves from behind. He came in between. I thought I saw some good instincts.
Yeah.
Some good movements. That guy who knows how to be around the ball, which is what you were looking for. Which is huge because you just lost JOK.
Yeah.
And in order for that defense to get some of its previous form, you needed someone who's going to have that nose for the ball.
Yeah.
And he's got that. That's great. We'll see how he does in coverage. Not to say he doesn't, but that's something else that's a little harder to learn. And he is a guy who moved to linebacker, so we'll see how he does there. Mm-hmm. But good start. Looked great in the tackle game, so that's a huge load off our minds, and we'll see how the coverage game comes along, but really great start for him. He looked phenomenal. I did want to highlight Luke Fioria, I believe his name is, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I don't know if you're pronouncing it correctly, but yeah, let's go with it.
I believe he's about 5'8", 5'9", from Mentor, Ohio, local hometown boy. He made 2 phenomenal catches. By the way, the other one that people forget about is another ball that, if we get into the tape later, we'll see. It's a really bad pass by Shedeur. Threw it way behind him.
Yeah, it was like a jumping one-handed grab.
Jumps backwards. No, not the one-handed grab. The one where he's running a route, and then it goes way behind him, and he jumps and he leaps with both arms out like this. And at the edge of his arms, just grabs it. Like, he just completely changes his momentum mid-route, going completely the other way, leaps out and grabs it with the edge of his 2 hands. I mean, it was a phenomenal catch. And the kind of throw that, I mean, we're going to get back into it, but those are pickable balls. Like, you got to be careful.
Yes.
Because when they just are going to go floating in the air, that's very dangerous.
Yeah, and he didn't have an official pick, but he did have, he had a throw also that went literally like right into the DB's hands. That probably would have been a pick in the NFL.
Probably.
Or it's a pick-worthy throw.
Pick-worthy, yeah, you never know. I mean, some defensive backs aren't the best with their hands.
Yeah.
But the point being, it was a phenomenal catch. I mean, to be able to stop your momentum and get around speaks of 2 things. Number one, in order to pull off that play, also your recognition has to be extremely quick, your decision making. So many guys, they just give up on it. But number one, he was willing to go for it. Number two, it's the ability to to get that really, really quickly because you have to be ahead of time in order to change your momentum that quickly.
Yeah.
So actually pretty good recognition. And number 3, just like a phenomenal play. I mean, he's got hands. And then, of course, that one-handed grab, which it wasn't just a one-handed grab. If you look at it, it's at the edge of his hands. He kind of semi-tips it when he first gets it, actually, and then reels it in. And it's
it was a really, really nice catch.
He had to slightly change momentum on his body, slightly, too, because it was a little out of range, and he still grabs it. That was phenomenal. He got a little bit of a hamstring injury. We'll have to see reports, and hopefully it's not serious. But look, this is a very thin receiving core for this Browns team.
Yeah.
He might have a chance.
And it could be even thinner. Like, we don't know how some of these guys... We don't know how Cedric Tillman's going to play out right now. Like,
he's giving me the Edelman, Wes Welker vibe a little bit. Like, he's small. He's good. Guess what? We don't have a reliable slot. He might be a nice little backup slot in case Tillman gets injured again.
Yeah.
And, hey, he's, like, really nice. Like, he's good route runner. He's got great hands. He seems to throw it if it's anywhere in his vicinity. Hey, that's great. I do actually want to mention Toa Taua, the running back at the end of the game. This guy I watched in the UFL. He was one of the better backs in the UFL this year. Looked good. He averaged about 4 yards a carry. He had a couple of nice catches out of the backfield. He's got great aggressiveness when he hits people. And I think it's something to keep in mind because, unfortunately, the power back we drafted in the second round may or may not be available.
Yeah.
Thanks to his questionable decision-making and questionable morals. Although it is alleged at the moment. So
yeah.
Allegedly questionable morals.
Yeah.
What that means, though, is that, like, Dylan Sampson I like a lot, but he is a speed guy. And
we need power.
Ford is not exactly a power guy either.
Yeah.
So having a guy who keeps the offense on schedule, who seems to always find a way to turn a 2-yard gain to a 4-yard gain, just hits them just right and has that aggressiveness, is worth mentioning. So I would like to see him get more snaps. Not saying a crazy amount, but just move him up a little bit and see if he can have the power and the vision. I think his vision is actually underrated. Again, I've watched him in the UFL, so I have a little more background on him. I think if he's got some of that can translate to bigger defensive tackles, like higher end guys, first round guys, guys who, I shouldn't say first round, but first string. If he can do that, I think he's a nice guy to have in your roster that like you can throw out there in the power downs and get you some of those tough yardage, those 3rd and 1s, those kind of spots that can they can get you where you need to go. And in the first downs where it's like, hey, we have tough sledding right now. We need someone who can get a few more yards to keep offense on schedule so the pass game can run because the run game is not just a complete nothing. So I do like him. I want to mention him. And Sal Canelo made a couple nice plays at tight end as well. Another UFL guy who's solid and may come in as may fight for that 3rd string. We'll have to see. He's going to have to make some more plays. But thought it looked good. So I would like to see Toa Taua get some increased reps there. Fiore, I would like to see some increased reps. I think he's shown a lot. And again, really thin receiving core.
Yeah.
Deontay already made a drop, so it's a great move for him to start off. So a little bit of a mention for someone who had a dishonorable mention. He had a drop. Like, what a great way to start after all the questions about him. And Schlesinger looked phenomenal. So that's my thoughts. What about you?
I mean, I don't feel like I'm so hesitant when it comes to the preseason for like Schlesinger and these guys. I mean, like Ford had nice catches, but at the end of the day, I don't know that the coaches like I've seen that before, where a guy comes in and makes a couple really nice grabs, and then doesn't make the roster, and everyone's wondering why. And it's like because it's not necessarily about whether you can make a difficult catch. It's more like about the route. Were you in the right spot? Was your timing correct? Those are the things that we don't know, but the coaches know, and it's often the reason why guys you think should make it don't make it. Fans don't necessarily are not looking at the same things that the coaches are typically looking for. Schlesinger, to me, I mean, yes, looked good, but at the end of the day, 13 snaps.
But what I want to throw out there about the receivers are sometimes short receivers just get shorted. Steve Smith, do you know he started off as only special teams?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't given a chance for a while.
Yeah.
Steve Smith.
Yeah.
Who's a probable Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, guys like it's not that guys don't.
Because he was short.
Guys slip through the cracks, yeah. But often there's something a little bit more going on.
Kevontae Turpin, short, didn't make rosters. Was amazing in the USFL. MVP, got a chance for the Cowboys. Great return man. And now, as he's getting more chances, not that he's amazing, but he's showing that actually he does have some chops and he can catch touchdowns and he can make plays.
Yeah.
Even though he's small. I'm just saying because he's small, a lot of times he doesn't get a chance, but because it's a thin receiving core, maybe they'll give him a chance and see what he can do against the first stringers before throwing him away. I know he's short, but hey, we're thin. Let's see if he can be a quality backup.
Yeah. Like for me, I just didn't see like enough really that much from anybody that really stuck out that to me. So we're gonna.
I think he did enough to get more reps.
Yeah, sure. I would agree with that. But we're gonna move into the drama segment. Ooh. I don't know if this is gonna continue. I mean, now that we have Shedeur, I mean, there probably will be a drama every week. Not that there's never drama, but
Some drama.
But Shedeur is like a different kind of thing that comes with him. So maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll do a drama segment every week. But the drama, I guess you could call it, with Shedeur and Tony Grossi. So if you haven't seen the video, I'm going to try to put it up on the screen. But if you haven't seen the video, or if you're listening on on Spotify or something, Shedeur basically approached Tony Grossi in person, not like on Twitter. But he approached him in person and essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, asked him, like, you know, why don't you ever say anything nice about me? How come you can't say something nice about me? I never did anything to you. Now, there was a little bit of a playfulness to it, especially, you know, towards the end. Like, Shedeur was smiling, a little bit of a laugh. So, you know, I don't know necessarily how serious he was. It's not like he was getting his face and was cussing him out or yelling at him or being really aggressive and being like, hey, why don't you do this way? It was more lighthearted, again, at least for the second half. But at the end of the day, he did go over to Tony Grossi and is asking a media member about why he isn't saying nice things about him, which is really, really weird to me. We'll get to you in a second, but I'm going to speak first. Now, but I found it just really strange. For one, I don't want you to even know necessarily what other media guys are saying. And I know a lot of them try to claim that they don't know, and a lot of them probably do know more about what the media is saying about them than they let on. But you either should be not paying attention at all, or should have the ability to not at all care. Like, you cannot let that get to you. Like, that isn't something you see from NFL starters. And I'm not even talking about the elites. I'm not trying to say, oh, you don't see Mahomes or Josh Allen going to beat reporters or whatever, reporters, and calling them out for not saying nice things about them. I'm not just saying like those guys. I don't know that I can recall any consistent starter that is going up to media members and saying, like, why don't you say something nice about me? I have heard from starters calling out media members or getting annoyed with them for being very negative, for being overly negative, but not specifically for like, how come you never say anything nice about me?
Usually that's in an interview.
Yeah,
like they're talking back and forth.
Yes, yeah. Their approach.
There's an actual thing going on.
It's in a press conference, right? So they're being asked. The context is already there. The setup is already there. Not you going over to them and asking. It's very strange to me. I don't know that's necessarily a huge issue, but it's very strange to me. It's like a weird thing to do, and it's problematic that he cares. Like, you shouldn't care what Tony Grossi thinks. You know, Tony, if you're watching this for some reason, no offense to you, but like, the quarterback should not care what you think. You don't report for the quarterback to read it. You report for the fans to read it, and for the fans to understand what's going on, and for the fans to have a perspective. It's not for you, Shedeur. You shouldn't be paying attention to that. You should be listening to your coaches, and I guess he probably listens to his dad a lot. But what did you think about that overall? Like I said, to me it was just weird.
I think in general you should avoid this for a couple of reasons. Okay, so let's start with number one. Never confront an old man when you're an athlete. Okay, I know that wasn't his intention, and you can tell from the body language there was no physical intimidation it meant by him at all.
Yeah, like, he wasn't being aggressive. He was confronting him, but it was not aggressive. Yeah,
absolutely. However, you do have to just remember, you're a 6'2" athlete in your early 20s. You are big and strong. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about I know the people say he's not that big in NFL prospects, but in the real world,
in the real world, he's a big dude.
He's a big, strong dude, and you're confronting a little old man. That's not a good look. That was not what he intended. And if you watch it, it's not that bad. But you just in general, you want to avoid that. It just looks bad. Like, you're big and strong, he's small and old. It just gives off certain vibes. He did a very good job avoiding it because it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. But just in general, you should just avoid it. Yeah. That's just number one. Number two, I thought it was a red flag for being thin-skinned.
That's what I'm talking. That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, that's what I really have the problem.
But it builds on something. It's not that by itself. It's that, hey, this is a guy who had legendary written all over on his draft room, right? This is a guy who responded, if you remember in college, to that player who transferred. And do you remember this?
No.
And the player who said, like, oh, I feel like you got to know me and I left. And then he responded and was like, nobody knows who you are. Like, on Twitter. Like, not in like a personal thing, like on Twitter he quote tweeted it. And I was like, that was immature. And again, young, but you start adding that up. And then you add on that. And then you add on the speeding ticket, which by itself isn't that big of a deal.
But they all connect together, yeah.
And then you add this on, and here's the thing. And people go, oh, well, after the game, there's people in the media, I'm not joking. Oh, well, he said to the reporter, well, I got a lot of work to do. Yeah, like, so does pretty much every quarterback.
Yeah, come on.
Quarterbacks come in there and throw up.
Hugh Jackson said that.
I'm sure Tanner McKee just said that after he had 250 yards and 2 touchdowns in a preseason game. He looked awesome. I'll bet you he said he had more to work on, which technically he probably does. But like generally people do, and they try to come off as humble and whatever. It's just the way it works. Like I hate it when people say it's the quarterback's fault because in the press conference he took blame. They do that all the time. It's what good leaders do, especially if it's someone else's fault. You never want to be the guy blaming someone else. Matter of fact, when they don't, it's usually a big problem. So that's number 2. No, but here's the thing: people who are entitled, or people who feel entitled, whatever it is, can try to say things that don't come off that way for a media persona. When they slip up, it comes through. People who don't feel entitled don't randomly do entitled things. At least not often. What I think you're seeing is someone who's slightly more entitled. I don't think he's a bad person. I do think he grew up as a son of a legend.
Yeah, I mean...
as a guy whose father coached him in college, which I don't think was good for him. I think at some levels it was, at some levels it wasn't. And I think he's lived a very insulated life. I think his father was friends with a lot of people in the media, and they constantly gave him praise. And I don't think he's used to dealing with that level of intensity and scrutiny. And like even this small thing from Grossi, when most of the media is positive about him. In Cleveland, all I hear is positive stuff about Shedeur. And if you're honing in on one guy like that, it's a real problem, because you have a bad game, you're going to get a lot worse.
Yeah.
You have to be able to deal with it better than this. So it's not the end of the world, but it is a red flag. It is something he really has to work on, because, okay, number one, nobody in the media owes you anything positive, okay? It's not like he was attacking your family, okay?
Right.
Nobody owes you anything positive. They don't think your play's good. They don't think your play's good.
Yeah, as I say, if he came at Shedeur on a personal level, not talking about his play, that would be a different thing. Be like, hey, like, what's up? You know, you saying something nice about me, maybe? Like, what are you coming at me, like my personality? Yeah, that would be a different story, but that's not what we're talking about here.
100%. And so there's that. 100%. There's something you got to just in general recognize with media. Like, somebody doesn't like your play, they don't like your play. It's just life. Kind of get used to it. But number 2, yeah, the fact that he's honing in on that already right now, when actually most of the coverage has been positive of him. Like, yeah, maybe the coaches haven't been so positive, but media has all been like praising him.
Yeah.
One guy isn't super positive about you, that's what you're honing in on. That's a very bad sign, because there's going to be a lot more scrutiny down. If you're going to be the starter here, a lot more scrutiny's coming down the line. Yeah, a lot more. So you got to be ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. And like, just at the end of the day, I have a hard time thinking of a lot of really successful quarterbacks that were so worried about what other people were saying. And it makes a lot of sense why he is, but at the end of the day, it's not typically a trait you want to see in your franchise guy. But we'll see what happens with that. We're going to wrap it up there. That is our first episode of Season 3. Obviously, we'll be back next week after the next preseason game to discuss. If there's any more drama, we'll get into it then. But for now, welcome back, and we're really excited for Season 3, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Hopefully, Dylan Gabriel will play, and we can compare the two.
Yeah, we can actually have a bit more context.